I think one of the hardest things for people to realize is that not every part of them was created for peace. Some parts were created for survival, and survival changes people, not always dramatically, sometimes quietly, sometimes so gradually that you don't notice it happening until years later when life finally slows down enough for you to see how much tension became normal. You start realizing that certain reactions inside you were never random. The need to overthink everything, the difficulty relaxing, the fear of disappointing people, the habit of preparing for worst-case scenarios, the constant emotional self-monitoring, the pressure to hold everything together. A lot of that didn't appear out of nowhere. At some point, those responses probably helped you get through something. Maybe instability, maybe conflict, maybe loneliness, maybe growing up in environments where you had to read the room constantly, maybe periods of financial stress, maybe relationships where emotional safety felt inconsistent, maybe years where you felt like being strong was the only option available. And when certain behaviors help people survive difficult seasons, the mind learns to keep them, even after the original situation changes. That's the part people don't always understand. The body and nervous system do not instantly update just because life becomes safer. You can leave the stressful job and still carry urgency. You can leave unhealthy relationships and still expect emotional instability. You can finally have quiet and still feel unable to settle into it, because survival patterns often outlive the circumstances that created them. And honestly, I think many people secretly judge themselves for this. They think, why am I still like this? Why can't I relax? Why do I still react this way? Why does my mind keep doing this even when things are okay? But once you realize that parts of you were built around surviving life the best way you knew how, something softens. Not because unhealthy patterns suddenly become healthy, but because compassion starts replacing shame. You stop viewing yourself as broken and start recognizing that your mind adapted to experiences that genuinely affected you. That matters, because shame rarely helps people heal. Understanding does. I noticed this in myself during a really ordinary moment recently. Nothing dramatic. I had finally finished everything I needed to do for the day, and there was technically nothing urgent left. But internally, my body still felt like something was unfinished. Like I needed to prepare for something, check something, think through something one more time. And it hit me how strange it is that even in stillness, the mind can continue acting as if pressure is right around the corner, as if rest itself is temporary, as if safety can disappear at any moment. I think a lot of people live there without fully realizing it, especially people who spent years carrying responsibility early, people who had to become emotionally strong before they were ready, people who learned that relaxing too much led to consequences, people who became dependable because they felt they had to. The nervous system remembers all of that, even when life changes later. And sometimes the hardest part of healing isn't learning how to struggle. It's learning how to stop struggling when struggle is no longer necessary in that moment. Because survival mode can become identity. You begin seeing yourself as the strong one, the responsible one, the one who handles things, the one who keeps going. And while those qualities can absolutely contain strength, they can also quietly trap someone inside constant internal pressure. Because eventually the person forgets how to exist without carrying everything mentally. Even love becomes tied to effort. Even worth becomes tied to usefulness. Even rest starts feeling like something that must be justified first. Once you realize this, you start seeing how many human behaviors are actually attempts to maintain psychological safety. Overworking, overthinking, people-pleasing, constant productivity, emotional withdrawal, hyper-independence. Even the need to endlessly improve yourself can sometimes come from survival. Because if you can just become better enough, maybe you'll finally feel safe internally. But safety doesn't always arrive through perfection. Sometimes it arrives through finally recognizing that the version of you who learned to survive deserves compassion too. Not rejection, not hatred, compassion. Because that version of you probably carried more than people knew. Probably adapted in ways that made sense at the time. Probably kept functioning during seasons that genuinely hurt. And I think people sometimes try to heal by attacking the very parts of themselves that once protected them. They get angry at their anxiety, ashamed of their emotional reactions, frustrated by their hypervigilance, embarrassed by their sensitivity. But what if some of those responses were originally built by a nervous system trying to keep you emotionally safe? That doesn't mean you stay trapped there forever. It just changes the relationship you have with yourself while growing beyond it. Instead of, "What's wrong with me?" it slowly becomes, "What happened that taught me to carry life this way?" That question feels different, softer, more honest. And honestly, I think many people are exhausted because they are still unconsciously living as the version of themselves that had to survive harder seasons. Even though life has changed, the body still braces, the mind still anticipates, the nervous system still prepares for impact. And sometimes people become so accustomed to internal pressure that peace itself starts feeling unfamiliar, almost suspicious, like something must be wrong because nothing is wrong. That's a strange thing to experience. To realize you became so adapted to tension that calmness feels emotionally foreign. But that's what prolonged stress can do. That's what survival can do, especially when survival lasted years instead of moments. And maybe that's why healing is rarely linear, because people are not just changing thoughts. They're teaching their entire system that life does not always require constant defense anymore. That takes repetition. That takes patience. That takes moments where the body slowly learns. You do not have to stay braced right now. Not forever. Just right now. And honestly, some days that feels easier than others. Some days old patterns return immediately. One stressful conversation and the mind starts spiraling again. One uncertain situation and the nervous system tightens. One emotional trigger and suddenly you feel like an older version of yourself all over again. That happens. Being human is messy like that. But even noticing it changes something, because awareness creates space. You stop automatically becoming every reaction. You start recognizing, this is an old survival response, and recognition alone can soften the grip a little. Not erase it instantly, just soften it. Enough to breathe. Enough to choose differently sometimes. Enough to stop turning every reaction into identity. I think people underestimate how powerful self-compassion actually is. Not self-excusing. Not avoiding responsibility. Compassion. The ability to recognize your humanity without immediately turning against yourself. That matters deeply when healing old survival patterns, because internal war only creates more tension. And many people have been fighting themselves for years while calling it self-improvement, trying to force themselves into peace, trying to discipline themselves into worthiness, trying to think themselves into emotional safety. Meanwhile, the nervous system is quietly asking for something much simpler: gentleness, space, consistency, rest, understanding, human warmth, the permission to stop performing strength every second. And maybe that's part of what people are truly searching for underneath everything else. Not becoming superhuman, not becoming emotionally untouchable, just finally feeling safe enough to exist without constantly defending themselves against life. To breathe without bracing, to rest without guilt, to love people without fear constantly sitting underneath it, to wake up without immediately carrying invisible armor into the day. Once you realize this, healing stops looking like becoming a completely different person. It starts looking more like loosening, less gripping, less fighting yourself, less carrying old survival energy into moments that no longer require it. And slowly, the person underneath all the survival adaptations starts becoming visible again. Not perfect, not endlessly peaceful, just more real, more open, more capable of direct contact with life instead of constant protection from it. You laugh more naturally. You stop rehearsing every conversation. You feel moments instead of immediately analyzing them. You let people help you occasionally. You stop treating rest like weakness. And maybe most importantly, you stop believing that your value only exists in how much you can endure. Because survival may have shaped part of your life, but survival was never supposed to become your permanent identity. There is still a human being underneath the armor. Still someone capable of softness. Still someone capable of receiving life instead of only defending against it. And maybe part of living unfinished is realizing that healing does not always mean becoming someone new. Sometimes it means finally letting the exhausted version of you loosen their grip on life a little. Not because they failed, but because they no longer have to carry everything alone the way they once did. If this episode connected with you, feel free to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else who may still be living as the version of themselves that only knew how to survive.